Are UFOs real? Let's see if I can convince you that they are illusions. To understand how this is possible, consider hypnotism. A hypnotist can hold up a rock in front of a hypnotized subject and tell him that he's looking at an apple. The hypnotized subject becomes convinced it's an apple. Why is that? Clearly, the hypnotized subject has his eyes wide open and is looking straight at the rock. How can he possibly confuse a rock for an apple? They are totally different things. Science has never explained this phenomenon. So, what is the explanation? Here's how it goes. Your left hemisphere sees the external world, the objective world, but your right hemisphere sees your internal world, the subjective world of dreams. You are in fact dreaming all the time. You just don't know it because, during the day, your dream is overridden by the data coming from the external world. At night, when your senses shut off and no data is coming in from the outside world, you see only the contents of your dream. You have two signals going on in your head all the time, one external and one internal. When the hypnotist commands the subject to see an apple and not a rock, it is the right hemisphere that responds to this suggestion and sees an apple. The subject simply superimposes the internal apple over the external rock. That's because the subject is in a very special state, a hypnotic state. His consciousness has been deactivated, and his unconscious, highly prone to dreams and hallucinations and responsive to suggestions, is in charge. He will see whatever the hypnotist tells him to see. Now, forget about the hypnotist and consider the phenomenon of self-hypnosis. If you are tired or bored or daydreaming and something unusual appears in your visual field, your brain makes a guess as to what it might be. If the thing is puzzling, your brain turns it into a mystery, AUO, an unidentified object. If it's in the air and moving, then it's a UFO. Your mind confers an alien character on it. It thinks it's not of this world. It's uncanny, weird. Your mind projects mystery onto the object. But it's not the object that has all these otherworldly properties. The mind has constructed the mystery and is seeing the object in terms of some story that has suggested itself to the mind as to what it might be. There's a condition called Charles Bonnet syndrome. A person with deteriorating eyesight starts to hallucinate regularly and becomes highly distressed. He routinely superimposes fantastical objects over reality. The key point is that the mechanism exists for invented content to be seamlessly blended with real content. When you see something strange in poor, ambiguous lighting, it's equivalent to having bad eyesight. Your eyes can't work out what they're looking at, so they invent an answer, an hallucinated answer. That's why UFOs are so fantastical. Carl Jung said, "I'm puzzled to death about these phenomena, because I haven't been able yet to make out with sufficient certainty whether the whole thing is a rumor with concomitant singular and mass hallucination, or a downright fact. Either case would be highly interesting. If it's a rumor, then the apparition of discs must be a symbol produced by the unconscious. We know what such a thing would mean seen from the psychological standpoint. If on the other hand it is a hard and concrete fact, we are surely confronted with something thoroughly out of the way." Here, Jung makes a fascinating suggestion. The unconscious replaces mysterious things with its own symbols, especially those of the collective unconscious. Flying spheres and saucers are highly unusual shapes for spacecraft, but they are just the type of objects the unconscious would summon to represent anything mysterious. Jung said, "At a time when the world is divided by an iron curtain, a fact unheard of in human history, we might expect all sorts of funny things, since when such a thing happens in an individual it means a complete dissociation, which is instantly compensated by symbols of wholeness and unity. The phenomenon of the saucers might even be both, rumor as well as fact. In this case it would be what I call a synchronicity. It's just too bad that we don't know enough about it. People naively imagine they see what is there in front of them. In fact, they are often seeing things that aren't there, and failing to see things that are there." Ever heard of the invisible gorilla? Wikipedia says, The Invisible Gorilla is a book published in 2010, authored by Christopher Chabry and Daniel Simons. The title of this book refers to an earlier research project by Chabry and Simons revealing that people who are focused on one thing can easily overlook something else. To demonstrate this effect, they created a video where students pass a basketball between themselves. Viewers asked to count the number of times the players with the white shirts pass the ball, often failed to notice a person in a gorilla suit who appears in the center of the image. An experiment described as one of the most famous psychological demos ever. This is a world where people can fail to see a gorilla right in front of them, who can imagine that rocks are apples, and who can turn ambiguous atmospheric signals into UFOs. So, do you still believe that UFOs are real things?